This is the live podcast with Manuel, living in full expression.
I now look back and see that the things I regret are the things I did not do, not the things I did wrong, because there is nothing like wrong. You come back with a lesson. Even though what you aim for, sometimes you don't catch, but you become something by aiming for that thing, and the becoming is more than the achieving. Do you get that? Sometimes you launch yourself out of your comfort zone in search for something that you will never have, but you become something in that process. One day in the future, you do another thing better because you had launched yourself before in another thing. So if I can tell something to my young self, don't be afraid to fail. Just try things as many as possible. When you fail, try to learn from that. Even if you don't see what you've learned, something has changed in you because you attempted what you had not attempted before. You become something by trying. Some wise man said that a mind stretched by a new idea cannot return back to original dimensions. So it's a muscle, so it's a hand, so it's a feet. Anything you stretch, when you go out there into the comfort zone to the uncomfort zone to try something new, you become something.
Welcome to the live podcast with me, your host, Manuel. And today, my guest is Mfikela, a professional artist who has done amazing things in his community through his artistic work and has gained several awards and recommendations and has represented Africa through his artistic work and has told stories. And today he's going to be sharing with us his journey, his story, and his background and what have shaped his life. Welcome, Mfikela, on this podcast. It's good to have you.
Thank you very much, Manuel. I feel very, very honored for this opportunity that you have given to me. And it will be a great delight for me to share my journey with the world, with the hope that we can be able to inspire some young people in particular. That is always my goal, to make sure that talented people around the world, wherever they are, they should know that there is a place in the world for them.
Amazing. It's good to have you. So let's get started. Who is Mfikela? Can you give us a brief background of who you are?
Thank you for that question, Manuel, but technically that question can be very difficult. That notwithstanding, I am still going to attempt a description of myself because sometimes, even me, when I look at myself, I don't really know exactly where to pin. Who is this? I am Mfikela Jean Samuel Mfomi of Nto in Kumbu, in the northwest region of Cameroon. And I work as an artist, as a talent promoter, and also as a motivational speaker. I was born in Kumbu, in the northwest region of Cameroon, and was raised there. But because I was a bit talented, I found my way to different places and different cultures to learn and also to share my artistic endeavors and artifacts. And today I'm here with you as this artist.
Wow, that's amazing. And I like the fact that you mentioned your background. Would you want to tell us about this Mfomi? Is it a title or is it part of your name? Does it ring a bell, this Mfomi that you added to your name?
Mfomi is a title conferred to me by the paramount fund of Nso in Bui Division in Cameroon. And this title allows me to be a talent promoter, a cultural promoter. Actually, it informs in Sangti, and Sangti in my local language, my mother tongue, is design, Mfomi of design, which means it owes to my artistic prowess. The title allows me to also talk on behalf of my people when it concerns culture, when it concerns creativity, when it concerns talents, especially in the youth. It's like a recognition of what I'm doing and a reminder that I'm now not doing just that in my own name, but in the name of the whole community. So yes, it is a title. It normally comes with a red feather, but for some reason this time I decided just to keep the red figure away for a while.
Wow, that's interesting. Knowing that you are representing not just yourself, and that's something that resonates with me so much, because sometimes people tend to do things not knowing that they are representing a larger society, a larger community. So you want to tell me about this contribution you have done so far that warranted you to be conferred with this traditional title? Because I'm sure this didn't just come by the way. You have done something that warranted it. So you will not give us a journey of how you got to that level.
You're right. The first thing is that I come from a culture, a community where people are naturally creative. It's so common for a young boy or girl to draw, to weave, to do embroidery, some sculpt, just as a way of life. But I took it to another level because I wanted it to help me open the doors of the world for me. As a child, I always had very big ambitions, big dreams, and dreamt of places far beyond the continental shores of Africa. I wanted to travel the world, but there were financial limitations from the community and from my family. I decided that art would be my ticket to do all of these things. Something in me told me that if I became a better painter, a better artist, one day someone would identify these skills and be able to promote me in one way or the other. Or one day I'll be able to sell a painting that will allow me financially to go beyond the oceans and see other people and learn from other, environments. So I became very serious. But my art is primarily inspired by my culture, the ways of life of my people. So when my people back home see my paintings, they can always identify themselves on those works of art. I never forget where I come from. I stand on the shoulders of giants, people who lived before me, and I think I can respect them by making sure that what they fought for and what some of them even died for should long endure. So I think the king of my village or the fun realized that in my own way, using my own skill, I'm telling the world what we do back home, how we operate back home. Art is a language. And when you see something, you've seen it. And then you know that that thing exists. So instead of doing it on my own, the community, because the king represents the community, the community decided that I should do it now on their name. It's like a blessing conferred on me. Like, young man, don't be afraid, we are with you and we are happy with the work you are doing. Now you are a soldier of the people. Where you were doing this thing and ending should now be the beginning. Because you are not alone again. You are tribesmen. You see. So it was a notch, a motivation for me to carry on the work with the notion that the people are with me. Yeah, but I started the work on my own. And I knew that if I had to tell a story using art, it should be first of all my story. Where I was born, where I come from, how things happened there. Even though along the line, a lot has been changing. But my primary or basic inspiration is still the ways of life of the people of Sobui Division in the northwest region of Cameroon.
Wow, that's inspiring. Talking about painting and going around the world, what was your first act that brought you to the limelight? Can you give us a story of how you came to the limelight with your art?
All right. It was a very long story. This allows me to share with you and the world that I'm not alone. I'm not a self-made man. Even though I took my art to a certain level, I was with some young people around me. There was a guy called Vekijika St. Paul, Nafti Pierre, Kiwanoka Bushu, Augustine, and a guy called Safred, who was like the guy who made us to know that art can really bring attention in a community. Worked with these guys for many, many years, for more than a decade. But nobody from without our country seemed to pay any attention to it. And back home at that time, people did not buy art because they still struggled with other needs, like they needed to buy food, pay tuition fee for their children, give money for hospital bills. The basic needs were still a problem. So you wouldn't expect someone to come and buy art from you. The highest they would say is that, wow, this is nice. This person looks like this or like that. Wow, this is this. But we still did not give up. And we also had this problem of material, which we may come to that at the end of the day. But as you ask, one day some volunteers came to my country, most of them American Peace Corps, and they were sent to the part of the country where I come from, to that village. And someone told one of the volunteers that in that village there was an artist. There was somebody who was creative. And they suggested that if these volunteers go there, they may find something to entertain themselves. I remember these days very clearly as if it was yesterday. One of the volunteers came and he was so bewildered and perplexed. I could see that he was like, wonderful. Then he said, I did not know that at the far corners of the earth, I was going to see this kind of good work. And then the next comment was, but, wow, it acted like an eraser. I was like, what has happened? He said, but the material is not good. I said, that is true. I wish I had better material. So that very afternoon, this guy struck a deal with me. And this deal required that he would provide professional media or medium for art. And I'll pay him back with finished works of art. It was a great deal. And thankfully again, his parents were to visit my country 2 weeks after that. So he told them to bring material for me. And they did bring a lot of it. I locked myself inside the house for about 2 weeks and produced extraordinarily. And that is when I was able to sell my painting significantly. The first painting I sold that the world would see. It was the equivalent to about, it was $20. That's about 18 pounds. This was in 2008, but it was like a Chinese bamboo tree that some people say would stay under the ground for 5 years. Then the day it shoots out, in the next 1 month, it towers up. From that day, things changed completely. And I was selling more and more and more. And this painting that he bought was a village scene of young people playing around a campfire in the evening with their grandfather, telling them stories. Because that was what used to prevail in my village. We did not have documented history. Our history was passed from one generation to the other by elderly people, by grandparents, who would gather their grandchildren in the evening around a campfire and be telling them stories about how things used to happen. And that is how survival skills were shared from one generation to the other. Now things are different, and children are more with their phones. But I still try to depict those kind of things in my art to remind the next generation that before we arrive somewhere, we were in another place, and we cannot just forget about it. You know, people without their roots or without their history will soon lose their substance. Thank you.
Wow. Let me ask you this question. When you started out, were there challenges that made you want to stop? Because the way you have narrated this story, I'm sure you didn't want to go into details, but I think those details can help other people who might be struggling with maybe living their dreams, achieving whatever they want to achieve. How did you manage through the ups and downs before you met this person that helped you?
Yes, there were many challenges, very daunting challenges, some that you cannot even begin to imagine. And sometimes I felt that I succumbed to them, I yielded, and I almost gave up. Well, I even gave up, but because art was so strong within me, the passion was so strong, I would come back. Not because I wanted to come back, but because I had nothing to replace the art with. The first challenge was the material. We did not have professional medium. And with those friends I mentioned before, we devised a strategy where we saw a certain mountain, chalky mountain, with different hues, with different colors of rocks. We'd go there, mine the rocks, the different colors, ground them very well, mash them very well, and use egg white, or some sort of local glue from the palm tree to mix these colors with and use as our paint. Then for brushes, we use the hair from the oxtail and made our own brushes. For pencils, we burn our own wood and use the charcoal for pencils. And we worked with this for close to a decade, for close to 10 years, with the hope that one day we are going to find professional medium. So that did not stop us. Then another challenge was opposition from with people without our group. Like, for example, parents did not typically respect children who wanted to become artists. They saw that this would not really enable you to live a successful life. I cannot forget the number of people who would come to me and say, why are you wasting your time doing this thing? It will take you to nowhere. You're spending so much time on this. You should try to be a lawyer. Try to be this, try to be that. Artists look like mad people that are generally very tired. They look very, very dirty. You want to be like them. And I don't blame these people, because some of the artists that I knew in the village, when you looked at them too, they did not look like they were happy. They look really wretched and wrecked. And sometimes, they are frustrated because they cannot sell their art. And they have all these problems. And at some point, an artist, they just live in their minds, their imagination. It's like they're living out of this world. And I had these people too who came to oppose me and tell me these things. But the main opposition was from within me. The days I was stranded myself, the days I would see that this journey is taking me to nowhere, and I'll advise myself to quit. But then I'll come back because I had nothing to replace the art with. It was so much ingrained in me already. If I'm an artist today, it is not that I choose to be. I think art chose to me. I had no option. I was just supposed to be that. And I know that there are many talented young people in the world who have a similar call. But unfortunately, they don't realize that it's a wonderful gift to become an artist, to become a creative. The thing is that people look for remuneration or rewards in terms of money only, but that is not true. It is also fulfillment and satisfaction. The joy you have when you express something to the world. It's a wonderful thing now when I look back and I look at the different places in the world where my works are there. And I'll always be remembered there. And those works, most importantly, make people happy and will make the next generation happy. To me, that is legacy. That is contribution. And I'm so happy because of that. So I can seize this opportunity to tell some other talented people, because every child is born creative. Every child is born an artist before the community tells them otherwise. I can still tell them that no matter what they do, they should still try to express themselves maybe to sing that song, to write that book, to do that poetry, that embroidery, to do that write-up, to do that painting, just to express their soul to the world, not just for the money or the fame or the attention or the recognition, just because that makes them feel fulfilled and makes other people happy. Yeah, thank you.
Wow, that's interesting. Talking about these challenges that you faced and being able to navigate them, what were the things that kept inspiring you to keep pushing? Because, like you said, one of the greatest opposition you had was internally. What kept you going? What kept pushing you? Were you looking up to someone? What was it that kept you till you got to a point where you broke even?
All right, I had a big why, and the why was I wanted to travel. I wanted to go to some countries in the world. I wanted to visit Europe, to visit America, Australia, Canada. And I knew that my family could not afford, and that I may not just get the money from somewhere around. So I knew that if I became a better artist, someday that would be possible. And it took almost 2 decades for that to happen, but it happened at some point. So that desire to travel, I needed a key to open that door. And the escape was the art. So that is one of the main things that allowed me to continue despite the opposition from within, and also the interventions which were negative from without, and the limited material. And I didn't tell you this, I did not choose to become an artist. I was raised in a community where people were painters or they were drawing. As a child, I started drawing at a very young age with the charcoal. So I just grew in that system. So art is just my life. My journey of being an artist is like a child learns how to speak unconsciously. It's just like part of the things that happen in life, like a life process, And I thought every other child in the world had the opportunity to grow too like that. But I know that all the children in the world are born artists and creatives. They are born with this great imagination, with the capacity for wonderful ideas. But when they come to the world, they are forced to conform to move in a certain tunnel. And people tell them how certain things cannot be done, or how things are only done in a certain way. And because of this, they end up exploring only a little part of themselves. And many of them who were born originals and unique tend to die as complete copies of other people. So what happened with what they brought? It was lost somewhere due to norms and regulations from society, to me, which makes no sense. I feel that the greater society owes to help young people to create an enabling ground for them to become their best, to express what is coming from within themselves. And that is how you bless your community with diversity. You are not coming here to repeat another life. You're coming here to express your own life, which is purely unique. Because out of the billions of people in the world, it is only you who is you. It's a waste of time to try to conform to be like someone else 100%. And one of the best ways to be you is to explore your creative journey, to do something creative. Like I said, sing that song, write that book, do that drawing, do that poetry. Tell that story not for the money, not for the fame, not for the attention, but for the fulfillment, for you to stay you. It doesn't mean you don't do the other things that give you some food or something. Do them, yes, but remember that you are first of all something before you choose to add something to who you are. The problem is when you replace you with another thing, but you can complement you with another thing. I do other things apart from art, but I'm an artist in the core.
Wow. You've really said something that struck so well, the aspect of when children come into this world, we all had this imagination in our mind, this unstoppable thinking, unlimited imagination, and these things get suppressed. Growing up as a child and going through this journey, drawing with a charcoal, doing all this you did. When those opposition came, those norms, those things, how were you able to navigate those things to still maintain your why?
I became a rebel, which meant that because sometimes it was very difficult to convince people who loved me that what I was doing was important. Some of them had productive instincts. An elderly person telling you that people who follow this path that you are following end up in a very wrong place, in a very bad place. I'm talking like an adult to you. And you know that it is for love. They are saying that. What do you do when you still feel like you need to do it? Yeah, some days, as I said, I felt defeated. I was like, okay, I will not do it again. But before I went back to it, I could not resist. It was yearning within me. I always look for the opportunity to express something in that form. So, 2 things. One, the passion was so strong to be broken by external forces. And secondly, the commitment too was unyielding. Yeah, I felt I had a dogged determination to carry on because I knew that there was something that would give to me at the end of the day. Like I told you, I had a desire. I wanted to travel the world. That was a big why for me. And art was the only ticket I had at that time. So no opposition from without, which did not replace giving me the other thing, would stop me. Maybe if somebody came and said, okay, stop drawing, I'm going to pay you the tickets to travel the world, maybe I would have left it. But they were solving my problem in their own way, without giving an option that satisfied my desires in life as a unique human being. Like you mentioned, I will agree again that children are born with gifts. Children are born with nothing less than infinite possibilities. The possibilities of a child are beyond what the ordinary mind can fathom. They are just restricted when they come here. And children are born just with two fears: the fear of falling from heights and the fear of unnecessary loud noises. All the other fears and limitations are learned. And men are good at learning limitations. Very good. And what is learned can be unlearned. I had a TED talk. I talked about this. The importance of learning, unlearning, and relearning. Because I know that, especially in this century, the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn is very important. Things are changing. Life skills are ephemeral and transient. If you don't upgrade and update, you become obsolete. And that allows creativity. So people who have just followed a certain trend in life and feel that is only where they can fit are going to have much difficulties in the days ahead. Thinking out of the box is very important. And your creative mind always allows for that. And that is how we are supposed to be. But something came up and fashioned us and put us in a tunnel. And now we defend the tunnel as if that is our life. We should break out of that tunnel. Creativity does not die. It can be overshadowed by doubts or by limitations or be cluttered. But the moment you clean those clutters, your creativity will shout again. It's like a dream that is always there. It cannot be killed, the dream. The dreams you had in your life are still there when you were young. They have just been cluttered by other things. The moment you settle yourself and you declutter, those dreams will show up again. And it is better late than never. Yeah.
You are listening to the live podcast with Manuel. Great. You wanted to travel the world, and I can say you would have by now. And I want you to tell us what was your first journey? How did it happen?
Yes, my first journey was in 2012. It was from Cameroon to the Netherlands. And then that allowed me to go to Germany and to Switzerland, because I made a friend too who was so interested in the artworks. And we visited the Netherlands for summer. And I did some sales in their summer markets. Went to Germany, did the same. And a bit in Switzerland. And after that, it became a routine. I mean, it just happens every time that I now go to these places, especially today with my becoming a notable public speaker or communicator and a talent promoter. That takes me now more around than even the art itself. And that is another story.
So just can you tell us how your first journey started? This is a child who had wanted to travel the world and was committed to hoping that by perfecting this skill, you are going to be able to have the opportunity to travel the world. At what point in 2012, you made your first journey? How did it happen? What happened? What led to that gave you that dream come true?
I had a friend who was a Dutch, and this friend made me to understand that if we go to the Netherlands in a certain summer, I'll be able to sell my work and the exposure will be better. And this friend too was a great fan of my works, that the support I could have was that. So that is how it happened. I went with this friend to their country, and then through that visa could also take me to Germany and to Switzerland. I went to these other two countries to do the other exhibitions and to meet other people. So it was through a friend. Like I told you at the beginning that I'm not a self-made man, even though I do my own part of the homework very well. But my luck happens when opportunity meets preparation. I believe in luck, but I know that the harder I work, the luckier I become.
That sounds very deep. You've done so much, not just in your community, but in the UK, you've been recognized severally. You've gone to schools, you've spoken to children about art, you've told stories in the UK. How did that happen for you? How did you get to be in the UK and you're able to make these contributions?
I came to the UK in 2014 to study in Bangor University in North Wales, and I stayed longer than expected, and I'm still there at the moment. And it is partly because of the good people that I know there or I have there, the new friends, and also the landscapes. I love them very well because they are a good inspiration and they blend between a big city and a small village where I come from. Yeah, since 2014 till now, I'm still with my brush and I was telling my story still with the brush. And at some point, someone invited me to do art workshops with children. And while doing the workshops, you also tell them your story, your journey. And some people or some teachers now realize that the stories were very, very important. And they now called me in different places to come and just talk to children about my story, not even about the art again. And I realized at some point now that this was selling even more than the art. More people wanted to hear the story, to hear my journey. And children were confessing that after listening to me, they felt empowered, encouraged. They saw how lucky they were, and they took advantage of what their country, their government, God, or nature has given to them. They now became more responsible. They now knew that their future depended on their own hands. When they listened to me, they saw that they were not maximizing their potentials, both the ones they were born with or the ones that they have earned as members of this country, That is what propelled my communication part, my public speaking part. And before I realized, they started calling me a motivational speaker. I did not plan to become that. The transition was so nuanced. From a normal artist who loved his work and who could tell people the reason for his work, to a person now that just goes about just telling stories, motivating, inspiring, sharing his journey, and people feel uplifted because of that story. There's something I would say. When you become a master of something, when you become good at something, the marketplace cannot ignore you. One of my mentors, Jim Rohn, he said that success is not something that you pursue. It is something that you attract by first of all becoming an attractive person. And that if you work on yourself, you make a fortune. I've worked on myself. Many, many hours in my life I spent. I know the meaning of early mornings and late nights, burning the midnight oil, and sometimes even burning the long candle on both ends to make sure that I go across a certain bridge. I face a certain difficulty. I'm not that kind of person that shrinks away or cringes when I meet impediments. No. Time and experience have taught me that there is always a way and that everything is possible. Impossibility is just a word that should not even exist. Things can be difficult. They can be daunting, wondrous. They can be effortful. But to say that something is impossible, it's an abuse to the human potential. And only ignorance declares that and stands on that. Only ignorance. You don't know so much to be a pessimist. So much about every person is not yet known. We are still locked so much in our genetic code. So much of us is locked within our genetic code. And the more you demand from yourself, the more of yourself you have. And the more of yourself you can contribute to the world. So these are the kind of stories I share with young people to help them to know that every child is born with a gift. And that even if they don't want to be artists like me, they can be something else. And if you choose to become something else, don't just be average. Become the best possible you are meant to be. And if you become, the marketplace cannot ignore you. Employers will look for you, not just to employ, keep. They'll also retain, promote, protect, and make sure that you don't leave. There'll be a time when more than one person will look for you. And when that happens, the loss of business will be there. Which is like when more is demanded than supplied, price increases. I now sometimes determine how much I'm going to be paid. Yes, because at some point more than 3 people need me to come and talk. And now I go for the highest bidder. Or sometimes I go for where I'll make the highest contribution. But it was not always like this. And one thing is that we are all work in progress. So I tell these young people not to be complacent, not to sit on their laurels. Because some people, when they have their first trophy, they feel that they have ended their journey. But any trophy you have should be a foundation for you to stand on and even launch for more. Because there's always room for improvement, Manuel. I'm not after perfection, I'm after excellence. And excellence has no limit. We can always better our best. I'm gauging for new frontiers, mapping my territory confidently. And I want young people too to do that. Because the problem is not the economy, it's our philosophy.
Kali, you have so much inside of you, and I'm so glad that you have translated this passion into impacting the community and making so much impact in the world. You've done several things in the community. Can you list other things that you have done with your artwork, specifically that have earned you the awards you have received in several places today?
Well, I've done many things, but I think the first thing that I am happy with is the children that I've touched. They are superpowers that I've helped them to connect to, and how they have become better artists and creative because of me, and how they now look at the future and they are not afraid of it because they're actually creating the future. What I leave in people is more for me than what I leave for them. Even so, I have a lot of artworks in public spaces in this country. For example, the National Library of Wales, the esteemed National Library of Wales, I should call it. They have about 5 of my collections, and they'll be there forever in their decolonization program. And my paintings have been shown in the Millennium Development Center in Wales, many galleries around here, the National Gallery in Llangefni, and Oriemong, Storia, Pontio, and many other places and spaces. People have been able to see the work I have done, to see something that if we are not there in the world, they will not have seen. And minority groups like Africans or black people in particular too, I've been able to represent them, sharing their story in such a way that they're happy with it, Sometimes, if we are not careful, our stories are told from a perspective which comes from observation or assumptions, and that is not what we want, because those stories do not help us. When you want to hear from a fish, or when you want to talk about the fish, you may ask a crocodile or the fish because they both live in the river. You don't go and ask the lion. The lion will tell you how they love the fish, but they don't love the fish. They love a dead fish to eat. They love the meat of the fish. They love the meat from the fish, not the fish. If you love something, then you allow that thing to thrive in the environment where they're supposed to be. So I've been willing to tell the story of our people from our own perspective, from a perspective of pride, of dignity, integrity, maintaining common humanity in order to decolonize the mentality of some people towards us. Because even now, some people still feel that Africa is just a country. They don't realize that we are a continent and that many countries in Europe can fit in one country in Africa. But I don't know whether they prefer, because to me today I know that most ignorance is invincible. People don't know because they don't want to know. We have online resources today that you can tap from and know even the geography of the world. I don't see why someone today will be thinking that Africa is a country, but they need to be educated. So I do this education in my own way, using my art and using my storytelling. And I can see some transformation, because when I go to schools the second time, children tell me who they became, or their head teachers tell me that they couldn't help bringing me back because the children wanted me. They say, we want the motivator. That's what they say. And when I go, they tell me how, before I met you, I didn't know that I could do physics. I didn't know I could do mathematics. I did not realize that I could do well in chemistry or this or science. But when we met, you made me to know that by pushing and pushing, I eventually do it. You made me to know the importance of effort. And that greatness does not just come by hoping or waiting. It comes by an unyielding faith and determination to get hope. Yeah. Even though we are born to win, but you still have to prepare to win. You have to do your own part of the homework. A human being is just a potential. It's just a raw material. With your resourcefulness now, you combine that raw material and put it to use. And the more you practice something, the better you become. We are not born good at anything. We become good at things over time, depending on how we practice to become that thing. And some people are good at doing nothing, or at feeling that they are not somebody. That is still something, but that is not the right thing for them. So I think this message has been able to notch the attention of those or some people in the community. That is why those awards keep on coming.
This is deep. You said something that resonated with me when you talked about how that we are just resources that need to be, let me use the word that Napoleon Hill used, synthesize. You pick and you synthesize and you launch out. And that part of your statement is what a lot of people need to understand, especially young children who are coming up, because being drowned in the societal norms, the societal cage, makes people not to live out who they are. I want to ask you a very critical question. Most people, when they see colored people, there's this way they look at them. How were you able to, with your story, penetrate, and you still talk, you don't try to talk in a way to impress, you still maintain your authenticity, your originality, and you still pass your message across?
Well, I like that you touched that point, but I'll correct something there. It's not most people. Some of the people who don't look like us, they are really looking for ways to come close to us, to talk to us, to know us. They love us. They want to synergize with us. But also, the way we look at them too, that is where sometimes the problem comes. Because you meet somebody and you don't realize that that person is sending a hand to you to hold. Because you also come with your own conception. So it's a two-way kind of thing, you see. So for me, when I meet a human being, I see a human being. Yes, I can see the differences. You look different. You are from a different place, you have a different culture. But I see a human being, and what connects us is that basic humanity residing within us. So I look for common ground, something I know we can share together. I begin from it. Sometimes I just begin from football. I can approach a stranger. What football team do you support? If they don't support a football team, they'll tell me something that they support, There is always something that you can notch the attention of a human being with. And when you go out there, you have to be a friend to have a friend.
That's true.
You have to show interest in people for them to be interested in you. You have to respect them to demand respect, Especially in this country where we are, Manuel, a lot has been done by the government to make sure that we have a better state, a better place. Even though legislation does not do everything, it is now left up to you and me too to make sure that wherever we are, we help the government there for things to happen better. You see? So I just make sure I am myself, and then I respect people, I respect their culture, I respect their norm. I try to know what they like and what they do not like, and I pass through those things. The moment you are interested in someone, they know. When you are genuinely interested, they know. And it's natural for them to respond to you like that, even if they had their reservations at the beginning. And also something is that for someone to be skeptical, to be scared, to be doubtful, or to judge what they do not know is natural. It's something which is primal in our instincts as human beings. When we were the cavemen, we needed that to survive. So it is a civilized man that is able to accept new people and new things with an open hand, without any judgment. And it takes time. It takes education. It takes reprogramming. It's like you uninstall your former self for a new self. We have to know this and give time to that. That even though when people crave to come to us, there is still a barrier just because they are who they are. And we should help them to come. And education is the best key. So when I set out, I maintain my authentic self, but I become interested in people, in their stories, in their country, so that I don't pose like a threat, I pose like a compliment. I don't come to compete unnecessarily, I come to compete, to complete who they are and what they want. I come as an asset, not a liability. I make myself to be useful. That's the word, be useful. When they think about you, they should not think about a black man, a brown man, they should think about some value, some asset. They should think about a nice work of art hanging somewhere that you made. You see, you get me? Yes, what we give out there should not just be our color or some kind of thing we want to defend about our rights. It should be some value too that we bring, something that we contribute to the community. We can make people see us as people who bring value and substance to a particular place. Everyone will need us because people need value. People want value. And when you are interested in people, they'll be interested back in you. But if you are like, well, they don't have my time, I won't have their time. Darkness cannot drive away darkness. Only light can do. And hate cannot drive away hate. Only love can do. So you have to be the person to go across this. Anyway, by the way, I quoted Dr. King. Those are not my quotes, because he's such an inspiration to me as well. I try to learn his philosophy to see how I can practice it when needed. Yeah.
You said something that caught my attention, and that's the fact that the moment you can bring value on the table and excellence on the table, you cannot be ignored. It doesn't matter the color of your skin, it doesn't matter your background. The moment you can bring these two things on the table, value and excellence, you cannot be overlooked. And that, from your story, is one of the things that I've seen that you have maintained all the while. Let's talk about your TED Talk. How did you get there? How did it happen?
Okay, good question. My TED Talk happened because there was a program called Equal Power, Equal Voices, and I was given a mentor, someone to mentor me. In that program, people from minority groups were given the opportunity to be mentored by somebody that they admired, or somebody who is doing the kind of job they want to do, or doing something in society or in public life that they want to do. And at that time, I decided that I would build up my competencies to become a better communicator or a public speaker. So I told these guys that, okay, if you want to assign a mentor to me, I would love someone who would help me to be a better communicator. So they assigned a lady called Benny Davis. And when I met her and talked to her the first day, she was like, she's very happy to have me, and she thinks we are going to go far. She mentored me. We worked for some time. And then she said she wants my story to go on a TED Talk, that she knew somebody who is a curator for TED Talks, and she feels that my story should be heard by the world. And then she was telling, we were hoping that I'll have the opportunity to share my life. But then apparently the TED Talk industry at that time said that people have shared just their lives so much, and they want people to come with other ideas to go beyond just talking about this grass to grace, I was this and now I'm this. They want people to see things that are more generic, more general, but that still helped. That is why I decided to go with talking about the importance of learning, unlearning, and relearning. A statement I learned from a guy called Alvin Toffler in his book, Future Shock. And reading about other people doing my research, I saw that the most important thing to advise, one of the most important things rather to advise somebody in the 21st century was to help them to be prepared for changes that are coming by learning, unlearning, and relearning, and to remind them that even because you are old, it does not mean that you cannot learn again. Thanks to the theory of neuroplasticity, our minds can still, or our brains can still change in shape and function and adapt to the needs of the time depending on how we intentionally use these brains. So it was so difficult for me to tell this story because this was a new story that I had to do research and build. But at the end of the day, I'm happy because the talk has been successful and I've got a lot of commendations from people. And at the moment now, another curator is inviting me from Italy to come do another TED Talk there, which will be happening very soon, just because they saw the first one and they're impressed with it. So as you ask, the TED Talk happened because I had a mentor who knew someone who was a curator and who thought that my story could help add value for humanity.
Talking about mentors and coaching, do you have a program where you mentor people and coach them, or do something that in a way replicating your ideology or helping them discover themselves to live their true self? Because when we started this podcast, you said something about you are not a self-made man. People have contributed in diverse ways, in diverse opportunities, in diverse places to help you get to where you are. Are you doing something in that area?
I am doing something in that area, even though it is still more or less informally for now. I have a lot of young artists that I'm coaching in Africa in particular. Some of the children I meet in schools, they continue to come close to me for guidance, not very formally. And I decided to do a course in coaching. I'm a certified life coach now because I wanted to look for the empirical support. I don't want to go out there and talk about my beliefs only or my experiences only. I want to make sure that they are substantiated with what has been found over time to be relevant in that particular field with some facts and figures. The answer is yes, I do it, but not very formally yet. I'm still trying to build up that industry. Maybe eventually it's going to happen. But we are all coaches, whether you are aware of that or not. Whatever thing you are doing in the world is sending some messages across. There's a child now somewhere that will begin a podcast because you started one. You are coaching that child without knowing. The same as if you start something and quit. There's a young man that will quit in something because you also quit in that particular thing. That's one thing we should be mindful of, which is that we don't live in isolation as human beings. Anything that we do is seen by the world. And even sometimes before you speak, your actions are spoke so loud that your words do not make any sense. So we are all coaches and mentors, but to take it intentional is better anyway, so that you actually coach people in a way they want or in a way that you want. And we program our movement towards a more enabling future for all. Yeah.
Great. Behind you, I'm seeing a painting. Would you want to describe that painting to us? That painting tells a story. Is this something you want to tell us about?
It's not a very big story. These are just women coming back from, in my village, I would say, from their small farms. You see, like I told you that my primary inspiration is the ways of life of my people. Like this child, this is how I was carried when I was young. On my mother or my elder sister's back. That's how we carry our children. Even though they don't see our faces, but they know that it's us. They know our smell. They know our energy. I will know, even with my eyes closed, I will know when my mother passes around me. Things like that. Because some people would feel that why not just carry the child in front so the child can be facing you. Human beings have more than the senses we think about, depending on how they are developed. Because somebody once asked me in a challenging way, why is it that you carry children just on the back in your country? A child should be looking at you. A child does not only see you through the eyes. If your child can only see you through the eyes, then there is a problem. A child should know your smell, should feel your energy, should know your heat, your vibrations, your intention even before you act. If that is actually your child, and if you are really present in the life of that child, there should be certain things you should know about the child, and the child should know about you. So the painting is just an evening setup, sunset, and they are moving back home.
Thank you. You talked about neuroplasticity and how we need to adjust. Today we have AI doing a great thing in the society. AI is doing a lot of things. Humans can clone themselves. People can replicate an event. Looks real. How do you see AI affecting paintings?
I think AI is going to complement many things in the world. And I think that people who use AI in a good way will be able to do what they do better. But I don't see AI replacing me or replacing many painters who don't want to be replaced. I'm going to use AI to become a better painter, but still it's going to be me. I'm going to be the one to tell AI what to do, and AI will not tell me what to do. I'm not going to accept to think like a machine. I'll make the machine to think like me. The problem that I see is that a lot of people are now surrendering their common sense to Chat GPT, for example, and they don't remember that they can do something again themselves. I'd rather write a text and then give the Chat GPT to AI to polish it, to edit it, than just to tell AI to do everything for me. Then what happens to your own ingenuity? Because the more you stop using what you have, you are going to lose it. I don't feel that people should depend on these machines so much on things they can do. Machines should not come to replace us, but to complete us. To complete us. So I'm not threatened about machines. I'm not threatened about AI. I'm encouraged, empowered by it. I see it as leverage. Like a good team member, for example. I see AI like a good team member that I work with and tell AI to do certain things for me. Then I can act to what I know. But for someone to think that AI can replace me, then they don't know me very well. And if any other painters think AI will replace them, that's their business. It means that they don't know themselves, which is super ignorance. There's a lot that I have not yet brought out, that if I bring out here, AI will be running away. I see AI for me is a servant. I will never be my master. Period.
That's very audacious, and I like the fact that you stressed on that. And that's one of the things many people would tend to forget, that the more you use AI on things you can naturally do, you are losing your power, you're losing that gift. And at the end
AI
of the
should not
day,
be a heaven. It should not be a heaven for lazy people. An asylum, an escape, road for laziness. AI should come to complete, not to replace you. Yes.
interesting. You are listening to the live podcast with Manuel. You've mentioned few people. Who are amongst Jim Rohn and the other people you mentioned? Who are the people who have made greater impact in your life, even in your journey so far, that you look up to, you learn from?
There are many of them, elderly people and young people, and they are numberless, they are nameless. I always try not to be naming them because I may not quote one or two, and they will be aware that they will feel like they did not impact my life. The first person, but there is one I will always proudly say, is my mother. My mother, I was raised by a Shiro, by one of the greatest women in the world. She could not read nor write, but she had this kind of God-given wisdom and knowledge that has accompanied me through my journey. The journey of my life, of which tonight or this afternoon is part of, would not have been possible without that woman. Yes, when I look back at the days she did not eat because she wanted me to eat twice, at what she told me one day that if I dreamed big and worked hard, there would be no limit to what I could become. Even though living in deprivation, she made me to grow up as if I was a king, and I believed that I would travel the world and that I would do certain things. So my mother has been my primary inspiration, and it's such a wonderful thing to be raised by that kind of energy. Because if you are raised basically with limited energy, it affects you for maybe the rest of your life. For you to uninstall that program from yourself eventually may be difficult. But my mother already laid the basic foundation that any other motivator or facilitator in the world can stand on. Any other thing that I get from people in terms of motivation stands on what my mother gave me from the day she gave birth to me and how she raised me. So even though I'm not going to name the rest of the people because there are many and I don't want to forget any of them, my mother's place is not negotiable. Even now, just looking at her picture every morning tells me to go out there and catch it. I'm so lucky with my mother.
Wow. So what place did your dad play a role in who you are today? You talked about your mom.
Yeah, I love he played more, but unfortunately God didn't accept. He passed on when I was still so young. So my memories about him was just this giant, handsome, nice guy who loved to call me John. You know, Jean, the name is Jean Samuel, you say John and just pass by. But I have good memories of him. But he was not there for long for me. Maybe that's why my mother had to step up. Not just to be a mother, but to be a father, to be a coach, to be a motivator, to make me not to dwell on the fact that I didn't have a father when I was young, but to know that God was my father and that Relying on God, nature would still not cheat on me.
So I just wanted to ask you these few questions before we wrap up. Now you are here, looking back, what would you say to your younger self? Your first motivation was to travel the world. You have traveled the world to a large extent. What would your advice be to your younger self from where you are right now? I know you have said several things to young people in different fora, different platforms, but on this place today, what would be your word to a younger you?
Don't be afraid to fail. There are certain things too that I should have done them, or adventures I should have made, but I was worried that I'll fail. For example, there was a day I did my works of art to go for an exhibition, a competition. And when I went there, I saw somebody who did so great, and I was just defeated. I did not even have the courage to show what I brought. That has been my regret forever. And at the end of the day, they said everyone won, but just because I was defeated. I now look back and see that the things I regret are the things I did not do, not the things I did wrong, because there is nothing like wrong. You come back with a lesson. Even though what you aim for, sometimes you don't catch, but you become something by aiming for that thing, and the becoming is more than the achieving. Did you get that? Sometimes you launch yourself out of your comfort zone in search for something that you will never have, but you become something in that process. One day in the future, you do another thing better because you had launched yourself before in another thing. So if I can tell something to my young self, don't be afraid to fail. Just try things as many as possible. When you fail, try to learn from that. Even if you don't see what you've learned, something has changed in you because you attempted what you had not attempted before. You become something by trying. Some wise man said that a mind stretched by a new idea cannot return back to original dimensions. So it's a muscle, so it's a hand, so it's a feet. Anything you stretch, when you go out there into the comfort zone to the uncomfort zone to try something new, you become something. Maybe you don't get what you want, but you have become something. And that person that you become will not be taken away from you again. One day, that person, that new person, will help you more. If I had tried all the things I had to try and I was afraid of, because I was worried I would fail, I would have become a stronger person today, just by trying. So I'll tell myself, don't be afraid to fail. Try things as many as possible.
That word, not to doing anything that you wanted to do. And you said a word that caught my attention in that line. You said, what you regret are things you didn't do. That's
Yes.
it's unconventional. What you regret is what you didn't do. It's not what
Yes.
you failed at.
Yes.
And that's a strong message. That's a strong message.
Yeah, but to correct, not the bad things. I mean the good things that I could have done or tried, but just because I knew I was going to fail, I didn't try at all.
Because you thought you were going to fail, I
thought I was
guess.
going to fail, and I
Yeah.
did not try at the end. But now I see that even if you fail, just the fact that you try, you become something, you add something to you, even though you don't see. But those little additions culminate over time to create a superhuman being. But the moment you feel that you are going to fail, you may end up surrendering almost everything in life because at the beginning, everything will be difficult. Even talking to you as I'm talking like this, as children, it was difficult to do this. It takes time to become good. And if you are afraid to fail, that you surrender anytime, then you are going to appreciate just a little aspect of life, which is a shame. The world is out there for us to live in, not inside here for us to be imprisoned in.
So talking about things you failed to do, that are those things you regret. This is you. Let's say in the next 3-5 years from now, and with health and good life, what would Mfikela be doing at that time? Paint a picture for us.
You know that I have this ambition. I want to touch 1 billion young people around the world. I want to connect 1 billion young people around the world to their own superpowers or to their energies. I want to help them to know who they are, to know that they came to the world with unfathomable competencies, and to give them the courage and the audacity to express those competencies to the world, to give them the courage to exhibit their hidden potentials. Because I know that when that happens, something wonderful and magical will happen to the entire human race. You know, there is some guy that I respect very much, Dr. Miles Monroe. He was a great motivational speaker from the Barbados. There is something he said. He observed that the wealthiest place in the world is not in the oil fields in Iran, not even the gold mines in South Africa. It's not in the diamond fields anywhere in the world. It is in the cemetery. Because there in the cemetery, you see people who died pregnant with potentials. They died with ideas. They came around with so much and they were afraid to share. They were doubtful, fearful. They were afraid of controversy. And they died with what they brought. There in the cemetery, you see people who did not write some books, didn't tell some stories, did not do some adventures or inventions just because of fear or doubt. He even thought that in the graveyard there was someone with a cure for HIV who died with that cure, not knowing that the world would have accepted, or that by trying and failing, there would not have been a problem. And now I think that there too, there is somebody with a cure for malaria or a vaccine for cancer who came around with these ideas but thought that they were not the ones. So my intention is to help young people not to be afraid of their ideas. That if they dream of something, they should share their ideas. 1962, when John F. Kennedy said, we choose to go to the moon in this decade and to do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. People thought that this thing would not happen. And they were like, some people even said that JF Kennedy was hallucinating, even though the next year he was killed. When he died, that idea did not die with him. That dream did not die with him because he has said it. The Americans, the astronauts and their technicians made sure that in 1969, radio signals came down from the moon and they heard a voice, a single step for one man and a giant leap for humanity. That was a guy called Neil Armstrong. He has conquered. He has gone to the stars because someone believed in that. Someone believed in that journey and shared the idea to other people. Let the young people believe in their ideas. Let them believe in their dreams. Let them have their vision and know that if they act on their vision, they'll move this generation to a better destination. Reality is not stagnant. Reality can be audited, edited, and augmented. You are not forced to take what is there. You can fix it. You can rearrange it, reorganize it. And there are many routes to the summit. I want to help young people to believe in their potentials to their core. To know that the creative prowess of the universe resides within every human entity, that there is something within them that the world needs, some good in every human being for the world. Imagine how good you can feel when you know that there is something good in you for humanity. Some people don't know that. They become volunteer victims just because they failed in one or two things. The stories they tell themselves about their lives are very pathetic. Those stories can be reframed and people can act on power rather than on fear. That is how I see myself, raising up these young people, and they'll say, I want the motivator back. Like I've been hearing in some schools. We want the motivator. That's what one head teacher told me. They're like, we want the motivator, we want the motivator.
It's really been great talking to you today, Mfikela, because words you said are quite deep, and anyone who listened to what you said and put them to practice would really see that truly we are limitless. And I'm glad you took the people who you want to motivate to be young people, because these are the most vulnerable people, because the moment they miss it, they'll be caged in the same cage that their fathers, their uncles have been caged in. Before we call it today, what words, one word, would you want to say to someone listening to you today that the person can just take home with and run with? What is that one word or that sentence or that thing you want to say today?
I can just advise them that no matter their age, no matter where they are, they should know that they are not limited, that they still have a contribution to do to the world. I can remind them that even if yesterday was not good, every morning comes with a new beginning. And what matters is what you are doing now for tomorrow, that they should stop reliving a bad yesterday or dark yesterdays, but make sure that they can imagine better tomorrows and make sure that those tomorrows happen. My intention is that anybody listening to us should know that if they are the same people that they were the last 5 minutes, in the next 5 minutes, it is by choice. They can change completely and become something else, that they are still the architects of their own destiny from now henceforth. Yes, if they don't like their lives, then they have an opportunity to change for good.
Thank you very much, Mfikela, for this time. And I
You're
hope
welcome. My
whoever
pleasure.
have heard you today would understand that this is somebody who has had a hands-on experience coming from a background where you came from, and here you are today. You never allowed the troubles, the demotivations, the circumstances you faced to derail you or to discourage you, but you decided that you want to be a voice for other people. And I hope that the next time we're going to have another chat with you, if God permits, you're going to share with us great stories, great things that you have accomplished. And I look forward to that.
Yeah, on both sides. I wish you well in your strides as well. And I'm looking forward to, Manuel, you are such a positive young man as well, with great energy, enthusiasm, charisma, and character. And I see you going so far. And I'm happy that we can have a little work together as we are doing now. When we're coming back, we'll not just come to share, but also to celebrate and to testify of the people we have touched wherever we go through.
Great.
All right.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you. All
You're
right.
welcome.
Thank you so much. I'll see you some other time.
Take care, sir.